proxying in for Shruti Rana today as chair of the election board hybrid meeting for Thursday, April 28, 2022. The meeting is called to order. Chair recognizes we have quorum with the representatives here, so we'll go ahead and get started. First order of business is old business, the approval of the updated minutes of April 7, 2022. The chair will take a motion to approve the minutes.
I have no additions, corrections, or deletions, and will make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 7th, 2022 election.
Is there a second?
Or minutes, sorry.
Thank you. Second? Second. And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next step on the agenda is new business. We'll move to recognize Nicole Clerk Brown for any updates that you'd like to provide prior to new business. Clerk Brown.
Okay, I am pleased to report that I have some numbers, early voting numbers as follows. Walk-in, 1,957 people have voted early. Travel board, 39. Mailed ballots, 1,324, and overseas ballots, 28. I'd like to remind the community that you can still vote early through Monday at noon, and the very nice time about, if you can find something with all the times that, you know, how fast everything is going, you can vote on Saturday. So those people who are not able to leave work, this is the second Saturday in which you will be able to vote at election operations right at 3rd and Walnut.
At all?
That is all that I have as far as early voting.
Thank you, Clerk Brown. Donovan, do you have any questions for Clerk Brown?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, hearing no questions. Thank you for that update on the election as it stands today. Next, we have new business and the review of an approval of signed resolutions. At this point, Clerk Brown, do we want to recognize Karen, or how would you like to?
Karen is on her way. What I will ask, the county attorney pointed out a couple of things, and so I would invite her, if she is willing, to come to the podium before we have further discussion to talk about the recommendations she has. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Oh, thanks.
So in reviewing the resolutions, I would just want to point out that it's my opinion that the resolutions as signed are invalid, and ratifying those resolutions would not cure the defects. So it's my advice that as the election board, you take a vote to approve the resolutions with an effective date as of today. In reviewing the resolutions, there are a couple that I think would need information added to them and some edits. In particular, the resolution that is entitled Sheriff's Not Required Resolution. It makes reference to statute 36638. And then that statute would require that the resolution also include, I'll have to go grab my computer to see what it needs to include, and I'll do that in a second. But it also says that that resolution applies to the 2021 primary and general elections. And I think you want them to apply to the 2022 elections.
Absolutely. I'm sure that that was an oversight, and certainly we would want to correct that so that it is reflective of the 22 elections. And the reason we know it had to be a typo is that there were no elections in 2021.
Yeah. And let me grab my computer and I can tell you.
And when you come back, if you'll sign in at the sign-in sheet for the podium, and I see Karen coming to the meeting, and so I may ask Ms. Turner King to repeat what she said for Karen's benefit.
So while we're waiting on that, just as a point of clarification, if we were to amend the resolutions as presented last week with the grammatical changes by a vote, and then just vote to approve them, that would be sufficient? Is that the opinion of the clerk?
That would be my opinion.
Donovan, is
That's what I'm hearing.
track as well? Okay.
We certainly want to take care of this today.
And I'll ask the county attorney, they're represented the same. So I'll wait for you to log in there.
I'm pulling up the statute, but you can go ahead.
Okay, so the question would be, if is the appropriate course of action then to go ahead and make a motion to amend the resolutions as presented last week and then take a vote on that amended resolutions. So we would do a vote on each of them.
Yes, and then they would be effective as moving forward today. So you're not ratifying the old resolutions, but approving an
Amended resolutions in each line. Okay. And at this point, as the clerk had asked, could you, for the deputy's knowledge, go ahead and repeat your first comment? So Karen has it.
To catch Ms. Wheeler up, we're addressing the resolutions. And I had said that it's my opinion that the old resolutions are invalid. So a vote needed to be taken on new resolutions with an effective date as of today. And now we're discussing that some of the resolutions need amended. And I was looking at the sheriff's not required resolution in particular. It first applies as written to the 2021 primary and general election. And so the date would need amended, and I'm currently pulling up the statute that makes reference to.
Also on that one, there was an added on sheet that listed all the poll sites that did not need the sheriffs. And I don't know if you got that part or not. Do you have that, Molly?
I do not have that
I have it here.
attachment.
Sorry.
Are you okay?
And that part also that had been attached needs amending because there's more that we've eliminated some other places that do not have sheriffs.
Sorry, my computer's being a little slower than I would like it to be.
That's all right.
Okay, so in looking at statute 36638, which is the statute that the sheriff's not required resolution makes reference to, it reads, the resolution adopted under this section must state the following: the precincts to which the resolution applies, which I believe the attachment takes care of. And then for each precinct identified in the resolution, which precinct officers are omitted, and the resolution, as it says, sheriffs are omitted. But then the final and third thing that it must include is for each precinct identified in the resolution, which precinct election officer would perform the duties required by this title of the omitted. And I don't think that information is currently included in the sheriffs. So if you omit the sheriffs, who is going to do the duties of the sheriff?
I'm not for sure if this had gotten redone, so this may not be the same. I really can't remember. Things have moved pretty quickly with this election. But on this sheet that I have, it is corrected to have the right date, Monroe County, for the 2022 primary and general. And then it says the precincts, the inspector, judge, clerk will perform the duties required by the omitted sheriff. So you may not have that. It definitely could have gotten changed. I mean, I was just printing that off now, and that's not the one that was signed.
The version that Ms. Wheeler has, I think, meets the statutory requirements. I just hadn't seen this version. So if this is the version that you have, I think the sheriff's resolution would meet that statute as referenced.
Okay, so then I would recommend, Mr. Chair, that the one that is applicable that you now have, that we read that into the minutes so that we understand that that's the one that we'll be signing.
Okay, I agree. I think what we'll do here is I want to recognize Donovan. Do you have other questions about the amendments or the resolutions on the table before we move to a process to do that? Do you have any other clarifying questions of
Yeah,
the staff?
I would just like to clarify the comment about them being invalid. Was that because they needed amended? And that as ratified or as voted on, the wording was incorrect and the dates were incorrect? And my question there is just for procedural, if that is the case, can we not just amend the originals? I don't want to get too in the weeds, but I want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
The reason I believe that the resolutions were invalid is because the resolutions were not passed at a public meeting.
Okay.
All right, so just as a point of clarification, so we do it right the second time. The resolutions were never read into a public meeting, correct?
Can you, I guess,
So
sorry, can you
in the
re-ask?
last meeting, were the resolutions read in a public forum?
At the last meeting, the resolutions were referred to as old business
Okay.
and approved. There was no reading of the resolutions.
So I think the process we need to do here is that we will vote, or I'll call for a vote on each action in the new business as amended and ask the staff to read in the amended resolution for the record. So that's what we're voting on. Would that be the appropriate course?
I think that's advisable.
All right. Are there other questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
There is one more resolution that I think it requires additional information, and it might be easier for me just to give you that additional information as we come to it instead of trying to tell you them all at once.
Proceed.
Would you like me to go ahead and address it now, or do you want me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's the resolution entitled Inspector for Precinct Sharing One Location. And in the statute that resolution would be passed under, it says it must identify the precincts that applies. I don't know if you intend for that list to be all of that it applies. It does say may include these precincts, and I think just clarifying the resolution would be advisable.
Does staff have a amended draft that we can read into the record on that particular resolution?
I do not.
Karen, yeah,
For this particular one?
yes.
No.
Okay. All right, so let's take these in order. Are there other comments or amendments that you would recommend at this time?
No.
Does the board have any other questions of the attorney?
My only one is may versus shall. Are we, and you're recommending?
I just think that it should be clear as to which ones it's applying, because the statute itself says that it should be clear. And so I don't know if may is clear enough.
Because
And I don't know if this list is all of the precincts or if you've identified just some of them.
It's all of them.
Any other questions from the board? I think our procedure will be to read each of these resolutions out, but I will ask staff to provide the amendment language and we'll approve the amendment to what has been on paper. And then we'll take a vote on the whole to make sure we have it in the record, because it seems to be, we need some of that in the space here. So I'd like to proceed with the review and approval of signed resolutions. Number 1 in the agenda, consolidation of polling places for adjoining precincts. Does staff have recommended language that they're amending on that particular resolution?
Is that the
That's
4-page
the,
one?
that's the first one, the consolidation of polling places for adjoining precincts. If there is something in that packet, I don't have it up here to review.
I don't know if I missed that discussion, what needs to be changed on that one?
I don't know that there is anything that needs to be changed on it, but I will preference that comment with the fact that it references an attachment that I do not have.
Do you have the resolution that was signed that was not, is that the one that was signed by the board last month?
Yes, I have all of them that are signed.
Can we have those up front so we can take a look at them, please? That's the first one. So to be clear, this one has no amendments, the consolidation of polling places, but the attorneys recommend that there's an attachment that you're not aware of. Do you need to see this attachment?
I haven't seen the attachment.
Want to pass that forward? This is the consolidation list. Right. Okay.
This is my understanding of the attachment.
Okay, so just, so if you don't mind, can you go to the podium and read that comment into the record so folks have it?
I think there's some confusion about what the attachment is to the consolidation of polling places for the adjoining precinct.
What is
I've never seen the attachment, so I can't say what the attachment
Okay,
is.
so what is the remedy at this point, do you propose?
If you're going to pass a new consolidation of polling places for adjoining precincts resolution as recommended, as long as there's the attachment to it for clarity.
All right, so thanks for that. I think what we'll do, just in the interest of business here, is to make sure that we read this into the record. So I'm going to pass this back to Karen, and just let's read in what we have, and then we can make a consideration on it, whether or not it requires amendments. So I'll pass all your paperwork back to you, Karen. Thanks. Is this hers too? All right. And okay. So let's go ahead and read the first one, then, please. Yeah. All right, so Karen, just so you have some direction, the first order under new business, consolidation of polling places for adjoining precincts. Can you read that into the record so we can take a vote?
Oh, right. Recitals, whereas IC 3-11-8-4.3 permits the county election board by unanimous vote to locate the polls for a precinct at the polls for an adjoining precinct, using the precinct election board of the adjoining precinct to administer the election for both precincts at the same polling place. Whereas the Monroe County Election Board has found it desirable in certain precincts to consolidate the polling places for adjoining precincts pursuant to IC 3-11-8-4.3. Order. It is therefore ordered by unanimous vote of the Monroe County Election Board that the polling place for the precincts named to be consolidated with the adjoining precincts named in the separate attachment, and that the precincts shall be administered by the same precinct election board. And then it says the attachment.
Are there amendments to this order by the board at this time? Or any motions?
I have none.
Chair recognizes a motion to approve as read. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll now move on to the approval of signed resolutions. Number 2, one inspector for precinct sharing one location. Karen, can you read that into the record as well, please?
On this day, by unanimous approval, the Monroe County Election Board adopts this resolution to permit one person to serve as inspector for more than one precinct voting at the same shared location polling place. This resolution is effective during the 2022 elections and may include these precincts. Do you want me to read all the precincts? There's 83 of them.
The chair will waive the reading of the amended motion if there's a second.
Second on that.
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I will go ahead and waive the reading of the rest of that, the 83 in the interest of
And that
space,
is,
but it's in the record. Does council have a recommendation on an amendment to that particular?
I think it just should be clear as to what precincts this resolution applies to.
Okay, so the 83 is listed as amended. Or the 83 in the attachment is the clarification, right?
Okay. If it applies to all of them.
Is there any discussion from the board on that particular?
Move to approve as read.
Second.
We have a motion to approve as read and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Ayes have it. New business number 3, sheriff's not required. Karen, can you read in the current resolution as it stands?
And tell me the name of that one again.
It's a sheriff's not required resolution. We may have the signed copy up here.
Oh, got it.
Uh,
The
I'll have
inspector
it
for
around. Yeah.
precincts sharing one location.
It's this one, the sheriff's not required, number 3.
Yeah, right. The Monroe County Election Board resolves under IC 3-6-6-38 that sheriffs will not be required in precincts in Monroe County for the, oh, this is the other one. This is the
Go ahead and read it in
2021.
as is and we'll amend.
Oh,
Oh, so point of clarification, are you reading the one that was signed that has the 2021
Yes.
date? Yeah, go ahead and read the as is and we can
Oh,
amend
okay.
off of that. Yeah.
Sheriffs will not be required in precincts in Monroe County for the 2021 primary and general election. This resolution expires 12/31/2022.
Thank you. The chair will entertain motions to amend that resolution.
I would make a motion that we amend it to reflect 2022, believing that this was simply a typographical error as we did not have elections in 2021.
So the motion to amend, is that a motion to amend?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
is to amend to on line 3 to create that as the Monroe County for the 2022 primary and general election. That's the amendment that's proposed. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
All right, we'll go ahead to a vote. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the amendment carries. Does council have an additional recommendation to amend that resolution?
I would recommend adding the language that identifies what election worker would be now responsible for the duties of the sheriff, the sheriff who is going to be admitted.
So is that the amended language or is that a recommendation?
By statute, it requires those 3 things.
Do you have a recommended language to be inserted into the resolution?
Ms. Wheeler had an
Yes.
amended version with that language in it.
Okay.
Do you guys have it? Do I have it? I
Yeah,
can't
can you
find
just
it.
read in your amendment so we have it?
You
voted
have
on?
it?
Yeah, I mean, but I
Okay,
think that's
thank
it. But can you read in
Yes.
the, yeah, just so we do this by the book, can you read in the, what the amendment is that was the language? Is it?
So,
is
I
it
don't
this
think she has
last
the
line?
paper.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it.
Okay, so
Shruti will be back next time.
the new one would read, the Monroe County Election Board resolves under 3-6-6-6-38 that the sheriffs will not be required in precincts in Monroe County for the 2022 primary and general election. The inspector, judge, clerk will perform the duties required by the omitted sheriff. The precincts that are affected by this resolution have been attached in a separate listing. This resolution expires December 31st, 2022.
I think in the interest of that, I will entertain a motion to amend what's current with that language in its entirety and swap that in, if that makes sense as a technical term.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion to amend the resolution based on the read in full amendment that Karen just did. Is there a second?
Second.
Move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The amendment carries. We'll just move to a vote of the full resolution as amended. Is there a motion to vote on the full amendment or the full resolution as
I will.
amended?
I will make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. That's resolution 3 passes as amended. Sheriff's not required. Last one is number 4, designation of polling places in Monroe County. Karen, can you read in that one?
Consolidation.
It's
Is that
It's number 4, the designation of polling places in Monroe County.
for adjoining precincts? I'm sorry, but mine aren't numbered.
Oh, you're not numbered. So which one is this that she would be?
I'm sure that's the one.
I'm sure
Consolidation.
that's, I'm sure.
It's the
I
last one.
believed that one was the spreadsheet with the list of all the,
Okay. Oh, so we can waive the reading of the spreadsheet of the designated places, but basically we need, is this, so council, just point of clarification, we also need to vote on the designation, is that correct?
I think the polling places are approved by the commissioners.
Okay.
But if
So this
you'd
is a
like to vote on it,
Pardon me, so this is a discussion point of new business then, this isn't a vote, like we voted on the 3 resolutions, right? This is
correct.
So this is really a discussion point about the designation of polling places.
Correct.
Is that correct? All right, well, the chair will open discussion on number 4, the designation of polling places in Monroe County. Is there any discussion by the board?
None.
None.
No. Karen, is there any observation or comment? Do we need to know anything on it?
I think we're good.
All right, so we have a so the council, what's the motion here? Is there any action needs to be taken? Or is it just acknowledging that the polling places are so designated?
I think it's an acknowledgement that the polling places have been approved by the commissioners.
That's it, with no action required. All right, with no action required, and that will move to public comment. I'm happy to recognize the public for comment at this time at today's board meeting. Any comment from the public? And also waiting online.
Sometimes I don't see any hands either.
Right, seeing no hands or public at the podium for comment, the chair notes the next county election board meeting will occur on May 5th, 2022 at 1 p.m. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to recess or adjourn.
Gentlemen, sir, kind sir.
Yeah.
If I may recommend that we recess because the board will come into session again on Monday, the night before the election, to ensure that all of our polling sites are set up and the inspectors have reported in. And so it is true that we will have a formal election board meeting on May 5th, but we will come into session on Monday evening long enough to make sure polling sites are set up. We will be together all day on election day to address any challenges that come up. And unless something untoward happens, an emergency or something, I anticipate the entire election board being together as the results are posted after 6:00 p.m. Thank you.
Very good. So is that a motion to recess then?
I am making a
Wait,
motion
wait,
to
wait, wait,
recess.
wait.
Sorry?
Could I talk about one more thing?
Oh, all
I
right,
thought
yeah,
it
well,
was,
before we take the vote, yeah, if you have a point of
Okay.
clarification or order, please
I
introduce it, Karen. Thank
thought
you.
it was under new business, but I just need a certification from the election board for the incomplete registrations that I have in basically my hopper for the election. So there's a time period that we can no longer accept those registrations, and for different reasons, they are incomplete. So I have a list of those, and so it's just a matter of the board agreeing that I can basically close out those registrations. They either didn't mark their application, that they were a citizen, or they left off some information. And I do have the list of all of them. And so if you just approve that they are incomplete for this election,
So, yeah, we glad you interrupted the process.
sorry.
That's okay. It was not on my agenda, otherwise I would have caught it. So Karen has asked for a certification of, can you repeat it one more time for the board?
Incomplete registrations.
Certification of incomplete registrations for this current election cycle. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to certify that list.
I will make the motion to certify the list.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Donovan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so certified. Karen, do you have any other business you need to bring before the board
Mm.
today? I know we're a little back and forth with the good work you're doing on early voting. I really appreciate the effort you're putting in there. It's tremendous effort over there at the new facility. So thanks for being here and getting that all together. All right, so returning back to our agenda, we were about ready to recess. I will, for the point of clarification, entertain a motion to recess until election day, where the board will be available. Is there a motion to recess?
Until the night before.
The night
election
before,
day.
May 2nd.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Is there a motion to recess?
Yes, sir. I will make the motion to recess.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. We are stand in recess until May 2nd. Thank you very much, everybody. Adjourned.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, recessed. Thank you.